Now that you've had some practice with Excel and a basic grasp of data visualization, it's time for you to get acquainted with some basic techniques in data analysis, starting with correlation and regression, which are among the most widely used analytic techniques. We will focus more on understanding the concepts behind these techniques and less on the technical side. Wherever possible, we will demonstrate how Excel can be used to conduct data analysis using an add-in called Data Analysis. You will need to install that add-in, and if you haven't done so yet, we'll tell you how to do that. The goal of market research is to understand consumer behavior and to predict how consumers will react to the marketing mix. How will consumers respond to a price change, or increased advertising, or a new product formulation? These are key questions that marketers spend a lot of time and money in answering. Forecasting means predicting the future, and throughout history, people have used all kinds of ways to do that, ranging from palm reading to astrology to animal sacrifice to consulting oracles. For example, the Greeks would consult the oracle at Delphi, as you can see in this painting, to hear her prophecies about the forthcoming famines, plagues, wars, or other major events. The oracle was supposedly the voice of the god Apollo. Today, fortunately, we don't have to depend on gods, oracles, or animals to predict the future. Instead, we have data and statistics. One of the easiest ways to make a forecast is to use a judgment-based method, for example, an expert survey. While this may seem a lot like when the Greeks consulted the oracle in the past, our experts tend to be more knowledgeable about the subject matter than the oracle, so their forecasts are probably better. Whom should we consider an expert? While we typically consider academics or industry analysts as experts, we can also include anyone who might have information about the subject that others do not. For example, we might consider salespeople as experts in their markets because they would know their buyers very well, or managers in a company who are likely to have good information about their markets. Another approach is to conduct a survey of buyer intentions. For example, if we wanted to come up with a forecast of automobile sales, we could survey potential buyers to learn whether they plan to buy a car in the next 1 year, and if so, how much they plan to spend and what cars they would consider buying. However, such surveys can be unreliable for two reasons. One, they focus on a future event which is not certain to happen, and two, buyers usually overestimate their likelihood of purchase. So when someone says they are definitely going to buy a car, that may be their plan, but the actual probability of their buying a car may be lower than 100%. To adjust the survey responses for this bias, the AC Nielsen company recommends adjusting their responses downward, as shown in this table. For example, if someone says they definitely will purchase, their true probability of purchase can be assumed to be 75% or 0.75. Another approach, which is often used in calculating potential sales in a market, also known as market potential, is to come up with a forecast based on how many buyers would become aware of the product, how many of those would purchase it, how often they would purchase it, and how much they would spend on each purchase. Therefore, we might calculate market potential by multiplying together the following: number of customers in the target market times the percent of customers who would be aware of the brand, times the percent of aware customers who would purchase the brand, times the expected number of purchase occasions per year, times the expected purchase quantity or dollars spent per occasion. This is called the chain ratio method. For example, if there are 100,000 potential buyers, and if 25% of them will be aware of the product, and 20% of those will buy the product every year, that would give you 5,000 buyers per year. If each of them makes 2 purchases per year and spends $10 each time, that gives you a sales forecast of $100,000 per year. Another widely used approach to forecasting sales of a new product involves conducting a test market. In the past, test markets would be conducted in cities that were chosen to be representative of the national market in terms of population demographics. The new product would be launched in those cities using the marketing strategy that has been planned for it and observing the sales in the market for 6 to 12 months. If the product met sales and profit targets, it would be launched nationally. That was in the past. This approach is no longer used because A, it is very expensive and time-consuming, But more importantly, B, it is very easy for a competitor to observe the test market themselves, and if the product is seen to be doing well in the test market, to launch their own version of the product nationally before the test is completed. In effect, the competitors would get the benefit of the test market without incurring any of the cost. For that reason, companies nowadays conduct what is called a pre-test market, sometimes known as a pre-market test. In this approach, a simulated store, meaning not a real store but something that looks like one, is set up in a shopping mall. Shoppers who pass by are recruited and given money to shop in the store and buy products, including the new product that is being tested. Their purchases are observed and they are surveyed to find out their thoughts about the new product and their intentions to purchase it in future. If they did not buy the new product, they are given the product for free and asked to take it home and use it in return for completing a survey about it later. In this way, companies can test consumer reactions to the new product without launching it or making information about its sales available to competitors. Another forecasting approach involves conducting a time series analysis, that is, looking at data from the past and projecting it forward. One such method is the moving average, where the forecast for the next period is based on the average for a fixed number of periods immediately preceding it. As new data come in, the average is updated. For example, during the COVID pandemic, infection rates for COVID-19 were forecast based on the preceding 7 days. Finally, we have causal analyses using methods such as regression, in which sales, or Y, are assumed to be a function of a number of factors, the X's. We are going to take a deep dive into this topic next. But first, we need to take a quick refresher tutorial on hypothesis testing. That's in the next module. We won't do an in-depth discussion, but only review the basic concepts so that you can follow along with the next few lectures.